Welcome everyone to week 3 of Dealing with Difficult People. Today is all about limit setting. I call it polite shut-ups. So I thought first we would review because reviewing is always super important. So let me share my screen and let's review. So with polite shut-ups, first we have the aggressive characters. We've already reviewed them a little bit, so I'll just do over again. They're the diva and the warthog. There's the passive one, which is the groundhog, and the passive aggressive, the pink fluffy biting bunny, the eye rolling canary, and the hyena. And we talked about each of these difficult communicator styles and not personalities, but we call them avatars or characters, and how they all respond and some of their saving graces. And then dun, da, da, dun, the super dog, which all of you will. Oh, we have my friend Libby is coming from Jerusalem. Okay. So for those of you who need to text me privately because you don't want everyone else to see what you're saying, this is my cell phone. And you just jot that down. Hi, everyone. We've gotten started. We've got 2 new people joining us. We were just doing a little review of the difficult people characters, the avatars. Here's my cell phone. If when we're problem solving in this next 45 minutes to an hour, you don't want everyone to know your question, put it in and I'll contribute it as if it's one voice. And then we talked about the 3 levels of anger. All right. Which one is all the way asleep? 1, 2, or 3?
3.
That's right. So why are some people in our lives, in the community, even at work, why are some people all the way asleep? This is the review section. There are no extra points for knowing the answers. If not, I'll just give it. But why are we sometimes all the way asleep?
Sometimes we're just complacent.
Yeah, it could be complacency. Absolutely. It could be drugs, alcohol, grief. What is it? Say it again. Did not hear. I'm sorry. Say it again, please. Did someone else hear it? No. Okay.
I think it was somebody in the background because somebody went on mute right after.
Oh, okay. Oh, somebody else. Okay. No wonder I didn't hear it. Okay. And then then we know that 2, they're half awake, half asleep, and 1, they're all the way awake. So which one feels better? 1, 2, or 3?
Which one feels bad?
Better.
Oh, better. 2.
2. So 3, you're all the way asleep. So you're not maybe enjoying life very much, but you're also not feeling the pressure of making choices because you're out of it. 2, you're half awake, half asleep. You have tailgate parties. You do this, you do that, but you're not fully discerning. So you may be able to deny that you have feelings or that the world's falling apart or that there is indeed a pandemic or that people are losing jobs or whatever. Level 1, you're fully aware, all the way awake. So what's that like? What are you aware of at level 1? Remember, this is the mindfulness count. So what are you fully aware of in level 1?
Everything.
Everything going on around you.
All right. So the people around us, and what else?
How the people around you are feeling.
Yes. So we are aware of ourselves, others, and the context in which we find ourselves, the various contexts. Very good. And then we have the 2 cracks. What are the 3 times when we're most likely to be able to change? What are the change points on this couch?
Life event.
A life event. So that would be the 2 cracks. And then which of the cushions, which of the 1, 2, or 3 is also when we might be discerning and learning?
Can you repeat the question?
Which of the cushions besides the 2 cracks are times when we might learn and grow the most? Cushion 3, 2, or 1?
Oh, 1 and 3.
Okay, so 1 and the 2 cracks. 3, they're not awake or aware. But if there's something that's a life event, you're going to either go into one of the change cracks where you're going to be churning and not feeling good. And that's why you were talking to Elliot at 3, because if you get overloaded on 3, you can go to a crack, which is good. So cracks aren't bad. People ask me to come to help organizations when they're in those 3 change points. One of the cracks or cushion 1. Okay. Anyone have questions about the mindfulness couch before we go on? Because if you get this, it makes setting limits so much better. No. Okay. All right. So we talked about the 3 levels of anger and I combined them. Jerry Springer, where you're very aggressive, polite folk, passive or passive aggressive, super dog, assertive. Then here are the elements of leadership. As we're going to be dealing with polite shut ups, I created these elements. So trust is at the top. It's also at the bottom. And there's 2 kinds of trust. This is my theory. So if you want to add something to it, let me know and I'll let you add. Hey, Libby. All right. This is my friend Libby in Jerusalem, guys. Okay. She's got 9 kids. Isn't that amazing? Doesn't she look normal? I mean, really. I'm just so we're working on limit setting. She'll have plenty of material. All she does all day long is set limits. Of course, you guys do too, don't you? So trust, there's 2 kinds. They're the kind that people have in you. You engender that in you. But if you're a really good leader, you help everyone else to be trustworthy, correct? Because part of leadership is to help people do what they're supposed to do, when they're supposed to do it, and how. Forget the why. They're just supposed to do it. Then there's 3 mindsets. I think we need a mindset of curiosity. So one of the things that I see in teams that are dysfunctional, they're complaining about the past. It's not how we used to do it. They're rather than saying, oh, well, what do you have in mind? So let's say Danielle gives me an idea and I go, no, that's not. If I have a mindfulness mindset and I'm a good leader, I'll say, well, what did you have in mind? Right? You get curious instead of cranky. Then there's empathy. And we talked before about there's a difference between empathy and compassion. And empathy is what leaders have, where you put yourself in someone else's shoes, which is really painful because then we have to understand how they feel. What a pain that is. We don't want to feel someone else's pain. We have enough of our own, thank you. And then awareness, which is the mindfulness. How aware are we of ourselves, others, and the context in which we find ourselves? Then there's the habits. Lifelong learning. All of you have it. It's an addiction. It's a good one. Are you always learning, or you say, I did that in high school, that's enough? So anyone now in the virtual world knows that yesterday's excellence is old news already, right? So even today, before I had to update my Zoom client. I had to update. I mean, you always have to update your knowledge, and things are always changing. So even if you know everything now, by tomorrow, there'll be new things to learn. Whether it's a changing organization or children as they change, you finally figure out a new employee and suddenly they've changed, right? And then the skill sets, communication and conflict management. I have a whole nother workshop, 2 workshops, one on dealing with communication called Core Communication Competencies, and the other one for women leaders. Men, you're welcome to the women leader ones, but you have to imagine yourself being in the shoes of a woman in this world, okay? Men are always welcome. I've done it to all men crowds, and I had a colonel wear stilettos voluntarily. I didn't make him do it, just for fun. He was teasing me. Okay. Now let's get to polite shut-ups. We already have one circumstance. And so let's start with that circumstance that I think it was Chris that brought, the idea of setting limits with a loved one who gives us unsolicited advice. Is this a good one to deal with? Sure.
Yes.
Okay. Unmute yourselves so that, and I don't care if there's some noise. If it's too noisy, you can always mute yourself.
You will when my 80-pound lab starts screaming, barking at all
Well,
the
you'll have to introduce us. What's your lab's name?
buka.
Buka. Oh, wait. As long as you introduce us, we're okay.
Yeah, every delivery driver is a murderer
All
coming.
right. If Buka goes on too long, you can mute, but we get to meet Buka. Okay. All right. And same with kids. So my philosophy with limits, if we haven't set our limits well, or there's an emergency and someone intrudes our virtual space, be gracious, get off camera, turn your camera off, introduce them, whatever's the most gracious thing to do, right? The last thing we need to do is make our partners, our children, our dogs feel unwelcome, correct? We don't ever want to do that. Everyone remembers an interview on TV where someone mishandled an intrusion and you feel so bad for everyone, right? Okay, so let's review all of the kinds of limits that we can do, polite shut-ups. I love you, and there's a variety of ways to say that. Thank you. I'm sorry. I'll get right on that. And the number one reason for any problem, conflict that may arise, is when things don't go well. You are right, and humor. Now, if you look at the worksheet, these things are kind of on there. I didn't add the catchphrases. I probably should have. All right. So I'm going to stop the share so that we can just, see each other more. Okay. And let's just talk a second. So we have here with a polite shut up. Which polite shut up do you think you want to use? I'm going to, do you see my, you know what? Maybe I should share. You want to see, does everyone want to take a picture of that one?
Yeah.
Take a picture of it so you have them all there. Because I realize in the tip sheet, I didn't put the I'm sorry, the whatever, but I'm going to put them in real fast. Let me add that. I love you. Thank you. I'll get right on that. You're right. And I'm sorry. Okay. All right. So now I won't share that. I can share the actual form. All right. Does everyone see it well enough? Yes, you see it well enough?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the important part is that I wanted to give each of you a sheet on what polite shut-ups. They're just a way to set limits. So let's give an example of each of these types. And then let's do it from the aggressive and passive aggressive and assertive. One of the best ways of learning what to do is to learn what not to do. So if you want to use personal power as a polite shut up, and you're in Jerry Springer show, what would be a rude way of shutting some up with personal power? Rude, aggressive, destructive.
Would it be like, you can't talk to me that way?
Yeah, you better not, something sassy, nasty. I am your boss. You shut up, whatever. We've all had bad leaders and we've all been bad leaders. We know what that looks like. I'm big, you're small, that kind of idea. You can't say anything, I'll fire you. My first wife never said that. Well, your second wife won't either, whatever. So, how people do that. So it's aggressive. So how do you use personal power in a polite way? Let's think about it. Let's say you're in a crowd and you want to shut the crowd up. How might you use personal power to quiet them nicely?
I know in a classroom, we'll go up quite often with if the entire class is loud and having their own conversation. Jim's used this. I know I've used this. Walk up and just put her hand up.
Yeah.
And just kind of starts to pay attention. Okay, why does he have his hand up?
Okay.
Kind of quiets the room.
So there's various ways that are authoritative or not. You can put the hand up. I just start dancing. And then they start dancing with me. You can also just, sit up in your chair a little bit so your shoulders can move and your arms can move freely. If you just stand loosely so that your arms can move and you project your power, people shut up. It's fascinating.
I'll never, can I share something?
Yeah, always, but don't ask permission. Just go for it, Miss Libby.
I was once at a big event and there was this tiny little petite woman standing there waiting for this room to get quiet. There were like thousands of people there until finally she said, "Can you hear me?" And people said, "Yes, we can." And she says, "Because I can't hear myself." And everyone got quiet.
Okay, so that's funny, but it's a little bit of shame, right? So there's nothing wrong with using shame if you do it on purpose. She probably was doing it on purpose. She was shaming people. Old ladies have that prerogative. I'm going to start doing it next year. I think we'll see. I'll let you know how it goes. I think that the main thing is to how can you? So I know a woman who has beautiful hair like Chris. I love Chris's hair. I always wanted Moana hair. And she just does this. She does a toss. And then she just looks. And people look at her. I know somebody who knows how to do his muscles Popeye style, one boom, I don't know what you call it, but one goes up and then the other one goes up, boom, boom, boom. And he just starts doing that and people watch. I know all sorts of things. Someone I know who knows how to juggle. You don't always have to scold. So the issue is with polite shut-ups, this is the first tenet of it. Do not let yourself get cranky. Use your personal power without crankiness.
What about if you're on the phone and they can't see you and you want to use your personal power?
So what do you mean if you're on the phone? Why do you want to shut someone up on the phone? What's the circumstance?
Someone is telling you to take your kid to therapy. Unsolicited advice.
All right. Like a teacher who doesn't get it.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about polite shut-ups. With personal power, you can demonstrate personal power with words, but it's harder to demonstrate it. Let's look at the other ones. Let's look at all the choices. You don't want to say to the teacher, "I love you. I love your school. Thank you for advice. We will consider this." Bless them. People want to be blessed. Thank you for your input. I will think on this. Or my favorite is I had an aunt who was a nun, and she would say, "I'll pray on it," which means when I'm drinking my scotch, I'll forget everything you said. I mean, she wasn't going to pray on it. I'll pray on it. Thank you. All right. I'll get right on that. So, I'll think about that tonight as I journal. And then number 5 is I'll get right on that. I got it. So I'm sorry is number 4. I got them. I got them out of order here as I had changed it from the slide. Sorry. All right. And then here's your right. We'll just use your right here. Okay. Telling people I'm sorry. I'm sorry that my brilliant daughter's behavior bothers you. Now, is that passive aggressive? Yes. So don't say it that way. I'm sorry that my daughter's behavior distresses you. Be sincere. Don't add, "You idiot. If you were only stronger, you would know she's brilliant." You can't add that. So discretion about personal power and setting limits a lot is what we do and don't do, how we say it or don't say it, and what we don't ever do or say. Telling someone, "I don't want you to tell me what to do," doesn't make any sense, because who are they to tell you what to do anyway? You're all grown-ups. So thanking them, say you'll get right on it, say you're sorry, you're right. You're right. My daughter does demand more attention. I'll be thinking, whoops, sorry, my dog just knocked over my thing. I'm sorry that, or you're right, my daughter is needing more attention, and I will get back to you on a plan I've been working on with the rabbi. All right, and then humor. Here's the dangerous one. All of you have an amazing sense of humor. I've witnessed it. Any joke that you can't repeat in front of everyone, or that you wouldn't want remembered for all time, don't do. If you're feeling sarcastic, like sometimes I can't be funny because I could see my eyes rolling and I know it's going to be in my tone. So I have to say, well, thank you for that. I'll think about it. People will give us unsolicited advice. Sometimes if they're in a role of authority, it's more confusing. My favorite was when I used to, a long time ago, used to be a programmer, and someone who never touched a computer said, you know, Margarita, your code is not so elegant. Well, how do they know my code is not elegant? As a matter of fact, they were right. That particular code was clunky. But say, well, thank you for pointing that out. I'll check it out. I always appreciate your input. I didn't. I lied. But thank you for your input. I'll check it. Oh, you're totally right. That is a clunker. Some people need you to say they're right. It's a polite shut up. You're right. I'll think about it. Now that I've thought about it, I think I will not be taking her to therapy. So please put that down. It's something we thought about. The whole family's thought about it. I've talked to the rabbi and my in-laws and my friend who's a therapist, and we all believe that what she needs is more ba ba ba. And I'll be talking to you. I'll bring my father and we'll talk about a plan to have the school on board with our plan. Thank you. We appreciate so much how you think about my daughter. Okay. Whom we pay so much money for the school. All right. So on the phone then is not any different with most of these. The only thing that's different on the phone is you have to be even more careful because there's no cues that are contextual. It's just your voice, right? So you have to be careful about how your voice sounds. All right. So Libby, did we handle your polite shut up well enough or not?
Perfect.
All right.
Thank
Who else has another situation for polite shut up? Because this is all about practicing.
One of my therapists from a long time ago told me that if I started getting into those heated debates with my mother on the phone, the most loving thing I could do was hang up on her.
I
So,
disagree.
yeah, so I mean, how else could it be handled?
I think it's very rude. Okay, so rule number one, no one makes you rude. What level of power are you if you hang up on someone?
The third.
Yeah. She's mean, you're mean. Who won? Do you want your mama to win?
No,
No.
never.
Now, if someone's being abusive towards us, Mom, you can't talk to me that way. Calm down. And if she doesn't, okay, I'm going to hang up and please call me back when you're calm.
Mhm.
That's not hanging up. That's telling you you're hanging up and why, correct?
Mhm.
Just like a kid is yelling and screaming. Great lungs, right? We don't talk like that in this house. No, calm yourself. With kids, it's okay to hug and hold them while they're being jerks. You say, okay, now come here. You hug and kiss. Pretend that it's a boo-boo. Hug and kiss. Okay, now deep breaths. Now, those are some big lungs. What is the problem? Talk to me nicely. And, pretend you love yourself. Pretend you respect yourself. Pretend you have power. Whatever you want to say. What's going on? That's a lot of noise. What's going on? Now, if it triggers you, then you have to say, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like for my kids, I used to say, there's a no whining zone here. I don't like whining at all. Whether it's grown-ups or kids or old people, I don't care. I don't like whining. No whining zone. I'm going to get you a cup of magic tea and I'll be back. And by then, be thinking about, if we fix this problem, what would it look like? Think about how you want things to be. When we come back, I'm going to ask you, if we do it right, what will it look like? And I'll get the hot chocolate or the tea or whatever. If a kid's hyper, don't give them hot chocolate. But, chamomile tea or whatever, or water, milk, whatever, bring it back. Why am I bringing fluids? What purpose does it serve?
Gives you a break.
It gives you a break. And what else? Two more things.
The water drinking test?
The drink of water test that we talked about last time. So if you and I both don't pass the drink of water test, we shouldn't be talking. And then what's the other purpose it serves? If I go and get you a cup of tea or water, how do you feel? What is that?
It's gracious.
It's an act of love, an act of grace. It's an act of service, right? A little bit of love goes a long way, even at work. People get mad at us all the time, day in and day out, don't they? Have you had a day recently where no one's been cranky or angry with you at all? A driver, someone waiting in the bathroom, someone, I mean, even if it's a minuscule thing, someone in line tapping their foot behind you. It's everywhere. Now, some of us have very loving families and they are sophisticated in how they communicate. But even then, everyone has a hissy fit from time to time or gets cranky, correct? Okay. Give me other examples about how could we shut up any mother-in-law or any mother or any boss. Shut up you is what Archie Bunker would say, correct? That doesn't work, does it? If someone's being abusive to you and you're an adult and they're on the phone, what are the other choices we have? Take a look at personal power. And then ask yourself, what's the goal? What is your goal when you're going to set a limit? So let's say our mother is being abusive toward us, calling us names, whatever. What's the goal there?
I think the goal would be to have her respect you. If she's being abusive towards you, it doesn't seem like she respects you.
Okay. Now, can we control someone else's respect for us?
No.
Get her to stop.
We can't get anyone to stop. We can invite them, we can motivate them, we can make it more likely, but some people are kind of broken. And some people, no matter how wonderful we are, will always treat us like yuckiness, right? We cannot control that. And sometimes it's just not deserved. You're a failure forever. You'll never amount to anything. I wish you'd never born. I brought you to this world. I can take you out. Does those sound familiar? They're the
A
lines.
little too close to,
They're the lines from any great movie or cartoon, correct? Because one of the worst things that can happen is we have a parent who isn't happy with themselves or with us. Children who grow up with parents who are unwell or unhappy or in cushion 3 often feel it's their fault. Is it a child's fault that a parent is less than wonderful? Never. I could be born with ADHD and this and that. It's still not my fault, is it? Children are their own selves, right? We cannot determine that. So I think that a lot of polite shut-ups is also shutting our demons up, our ghosts, that if I'd only said the right thing, if I'd only been born a male, and if I had been less smart than my mother or less pretty than my mother. Now, some women get jealous of their talented, gorgeous daughters, right? That is sad. I mean, most good mothers, we want our children to be much more gorgeous, much more talented, much happier, much more everything than us, correct? Same with sons. But people who are broken, they're broken. We can't fix them, can we? We can inspire them to get fixed. We can be loving. Mom, when you talk to me like that, you know, I can't do that. Please call me when you can be kind. But if I'm asking her to do something she can't do, I can at least be, Mom, I cannot let you yell at me like that. Now, can you say something nice? Tell me one nice thing about me. And she's not going to be able to do it. And if she does do it, great. Thank you, Mom. We're going to stop right there. Ooh, good conversation. And each time we talk, I want you to tell me one nice thing. Maybe you have the ghost of a son behind you. Okay. One of her 9 children. So I think that the issue is trying to understand what we want to get out of it. So let's do another situation. Did we, Danielle, did we problem solve about the hanging up?
Yeah.
Now, in a room, if someone's being violent or abusive, you can simply, without saying anything, walk out the room.
Yeah.
Right? In a workplace, if you have do you guys have panic buttons anywhere? Do you have a text code that says 911 violence in this room? Okay. You what? Say it again.
No,
I think Libby's talking to her ghost.
Oh, Libby's talking to the ghost. Okay. All right. Thank you. The ghost. Let me silence her then. Oh, she actually, yeah, I'm gonna mute her. Okay, thank you. You have good ears. All right. So I think that all of you need to talk to your teams about a violence backup. So I sometimes get called for active shooter situations, either to prepare for them, to prevent them, or afterwards as a debrief. It is never my favorite when it's a school. But I've been to plenty of insurance agencies and I've been plenty of banks and I've been to 7 schools for an active shooter situation. Not my favorite. So what do? You have to come up with a plan so that, let's say I come in and I'm there with Jeff and I come in with my Dukes or I have my gun or my knife or whatever. Or I'm going to sing the Love Boat, which is deadly for many people. You have to have a plan individually for how will you set that limit. But you also have to have a plan as a team, how you're going to back each other up, correct? So there has to be a code that you can send to a pre-existing group that says lockdown or come here, come support me. So many, like in government, the clerks of the office or the finance departments, I help them prepare a lot of times. What is the routine? What are the areas of how do they exit any office safely? Where can they hide? Is there a panic button? Is there a text? Is there whatever, right? So you need to be thinking about that even at home. What will you do if there's a violent situation? Now, the only reason to plan for it is that's the worst case scenario. If you can plan for a worst case scenario, you come into any situation with more confidence and more skills. And so then you can handle someone being a jerk easier, correct? In your workplace, have you ever had to fire anyone for violent behavior? Yes?
I can say one individual insight. She not necessarily had to go because of one situation, but multiple situations, violent situations. But in the history of me being at MLTAI, I don't remember any one individual being run into a violent one, getting let go for one incident.
Okay, some industries tolerate physical violence more than others. Others, one incident, you're gone.
Anybody else, I mean, have comment on that remembers differently?
Does that
Yeah,
agree with them? There's been one?
The incident actually was with me. She told me she wanted to slap my face off, basically.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was after the incident that the same individual called me the C word about 8 times.
There was an incident with Blair too.
That it's not
Yeah.
Crown, right?
Yeah, she called Blair the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, she threatened Blair.
Yeah.
Wow, that's exciting. Okay, so now why does somebody do that on the workplace?
I don't know. It was
Angry.
the only time I ever thought I was going to have to fight my way out of a break room with some woman in the break room. The time I was ever been afraid in my whole life, having to fight my way out of a room.
So obviously she was in distress and having issues, but if someone's allowed to do that once and they stay on the job, then you have a serious problem on your hands because now it's most likely a pink fluffy biting bunny, but it could be a bully, an emotional terrorist. Some bullies are 4'5" and they look innocent and they're not.
Oh no, she was a bully and she was about 6'2".
All right, so a lot of people are just bullies. They're overly
Yeah.
aggressive. Could be
Yeah.
hormonal problems,
Yeah.
immaturity of defense mechanisms, who knows what. But in a workplace, the number one problem I see for hostile workplace is that no one knows how to handle a grown-up who misbehaves that badly. So my suggestion is document it and show it to your superior. Even if you're top dog, there's always someone above us.
Well, she finally called our top dog the C word.
Oh, good. All right.
So that
Equal
took care of that.
opportunity misbehavior, that helps. But
Yeah.
it shouldn't be that it takes to call the top dog that yucky word.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be.
Seemed to be her favorite word.
Well, everyone has favorites. Mine is the F word. I just like it. It has a nice sound to it, right?
And it's versatile.
It is. It's a verb, a noun, an adjective. It's just
It's the only
everything.
word you can make a whole sentence out of.
Yeah, I know. You know, and it's like the art of giving up, that
Yeah.
book. I love that book. Okay. So the issue is everyone has their favorites. And I'm sorry that the C word was her favorite, but it was. How do we tolerate stuff? So part of the problem is none of us are young. We're all at least a few years old. So we have a history of how we've set limits. The problem is everyone knows our history. If I have tolerated in the past too much abuse or bad behavior, everyone knows that my level's up here, where maybe April's level is down here. Maybe April doesn't tolerate any nonsense, but I've tolerated too much. Who's going to more likely be treated badly?
Well, you will be.
That would be me. So now, if I feel like the victim, I have to ask myself, there's bullies, heroes, victims, and witnesses, right?
Mhm.
All witnesses are either bullies, right? Or victims. The heroes are the only solution. So really, we have only two categories. If you're not a hero, you're a bully or a victim. Now, some victims become bullies. And the witnesses can't be neutral in any viral event, any violent event, any scary event. There's no such thing as a true witness. You're either a wimp and you become a victim, or you become aggressive by, if one of you is getting abused and I don't stand up one way or another, I've added to the abuse. That's called high school and middle school, correct? Where you have the big, strong kids or the mean girls or whatever. And it's in every Disney show, right? They have them there, every show. The issue is if I'm not part of the solution, I am most certainly part of the problem, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. Now, speaking up. So the other day I was at a store, and tell me what you would do. There was a woman who slapped her kid who was 4 years old, slapped him in the face. He hit the toy. They were buying toys for Christmas. He hit the toy thing behind him, and then she had belly slammed him again. Okay. So what are the choices you have in terms of, are we at a point where we could do a polite shut up? Do we pass the drink of water test?
No.
If you
Are
don't
we in
pass the
this
drink of water
situation?
test, both of you, you cannot do a polite shut up. So what's the only thing you can do?
Get physical.
No, you go to the administration.
I wouldn't stand there and watch someone beat up on their 4-year-old.
You could say, hey, stop that. You can also say, what a cute kid. Please take a moment.
Yeah.
Now, none of that's going to help. You just got to get help. So there are two things to think about there. What's the best way to keep this kid safe? Now, I had to say something. I put on my mom coach voice. Hey, she looked at me. And luckily she was Hispanic. I said, ¿Y qué? Like I put on my Cubanness, right? ¿Y qué? And she looked at me.
What does that mean?
And what? It's just a, hey, what you doing? What you thinking about? You know, it's in my culture is just, and now, you know, like Ike. So it almost doesn't matter what you say, just say anything. And then I went and got staff and I insisted they call police. Why did I insist on calling police?
Because you want to protect the child.
The child's at risk. If they're willing to do that in front of someone that happens to be a duly ordained, required reporter of abuse, right? God ordained and ordained by Michigan and Florida. I have to report abuse, don't I?
Yeah.
I'm a mandated reporter. But besides that, I'm a grandma. I'm a mandated grandma and a citizen of the world. And so you have to do something. So I went and told them what I was in. I immediately, some people came to her, police were called, and they interviewed. She needs help from social services. Social services can provide a lot of help a lot of the times. I mean, what would possess a woman to be that out of control in a public setting?
So imagine what she's doing in private.
Yes, and this poor child. So I had to say something. Now, I wasn't going to say, please use your words. Would that help? So did I use any of these? Which ones of these 7 polite shut-ups did I use? I only used one.
First level, personal power.
Personal power. Hey, Ike. Now, I've done in the past with a beautiful baby. Come on. It's okay. Depends on where they are. So you have to decide split second. And the only way to do that is to think ahead of time. What are all your different choices with scenarios? Is there something else that one of you could have done given who you are? Think about polite shut-ups. Is there something else you could have done to intervene?
Ask her if she needed help. If you need help here, I
You
guess.
can say, do you need help? And I was going to ask, you need help after she hit him the first time. Are you okay, ma'am? But when she hit him, body slammed him again, by then I'm like, hey,
Right.
Ike, like, cállate, like, don't do that, not for me. I was mad. So the issue is I was also scared. I was scared she's going to hurt the child right in front of me.
My response is, I'm sorry, but that's, I grew up with 4 brothers. My mom made friends with child welfare services. So it was bad. She'd
Well,
invite me for coffee.
And there's, child welfare has changed in their view. They used to be the bad guys. And when I was a kid misbehaved, the neighborhood would come and beat them up. It was a threat of doing something. And then the mothers would give the kids punching things, and beatings were more normal. Not in every family, but I think that our tolerance for how we discipline has changed over time. Now you can barely say, now, Johnny, we don't play with knives in school, whatever. I mean, so we have to think about how are we setting limits. So social services coming is not the end of the world. It could be the biggest blessing you've done. In a work site, though, or at home with our families, the biggest personal power giveaway is when we wait for a situation before we decide what to do. So I have an assignment for you. Think of a situation in your personal life, in the community, including your neighborhood, faith community, whatever, and at work, 3 different situations: personal, work, and in the community, where you want to be ready to handle a situation that you know is going to come again. I want you to think about all 3 and then fill out this chart. And you don't have to do the second level if you don't want, but you do if you're going to be abusive. Like the abusive with that lady in the toy store when me come up and punched her, right? That would have felt good, wouldn't it? Would it have accomplished anything?
No.
I would only be making her feel bad. The kid would be scared. Later on, the kid would think it was his fault, right? And we
It's
have
just
to
more
think about-
violence.
Huh?
It's just more violence.
It's more violence begets violence. That's the Christian 3. There's the hard part is, and sometimes we have murderous thoughts. And I know who could help me hide the body. I mean, really. And Jimmy has a farm. If he had pigs, even better, right? So then the issue is what brings out the worst in us is what I want you to look at. Whether you feel wimpy or bullied, or like the therapist saying, hang up. It's okay to hang up if you've said, I'm going to hang up. But I think just hanging up on someone is not okay, because then you're contributing to the negative stuff. And maybe that therapist meant, say, Mama, I can't let you talk to me like that. I'm going to be hanging up. Call me back, please, when you can talk to me nicely. Right. And then you address that. All right. So give me other situations at work, in the community, at home, maybe not your house, but your neighbors.
The types of situations, I guess, can you be more specific on what type of situation?
Any situation where you might want to practice doing a polite shut up. And a polite shut up, by now, is just a funny term. It's not just words. It's how do you want to manage? How do you set, it's about setting expectations and limits. So some of it is prevention. Like, do people know how to reach you and when? Like for instance, let's say you have 12, like when I was a director, there were a lot of different styles and I stole one from someone. Someone was a really good manager. And she was kind of low on the totem pole, but she was the one everyone went to. And so I would observe her. Her name was Judy. And Judy did something that I recommend everyone do. At a particular time of every hour, for her, it was from on the hour to 10 after, she was free for open discussion with anyone. And she had a sign up sheet and anyone could sign it up. Now people would just text it. I want the 10 o'clock slot. Trouble is then, you have to be able to, and you don't have to put your name. You can just, cross out, taken. So it's anonymous if you want, but so 10 minutes from every hour she had available. I know someone that every half hour gave 5 minutes or 10. It depends on who you are and how you work, correct? So that was one of my thoughts.
I used to do in the fields when I ran big jobs. We'd run 6-7 days a week, but the last day of the week, I would end up, it's construction. I'd go to a bar. And in the first half hour I was there, if you wanted to sit down and talk, I let everyone know where I was going. That's where they would come, sit down. But I would also warn them, if it took you 3 drinks to sit down and talk to me, I'm leaving. So it had to be sit down with me. I'll buy the first one. Let's talk. It actually solved quite a few problems for me over the years. It was, I had a very bad situation where one job was already 2 weeks behind and we weren't even 3 weeks into the job.
Well, it's a great solution. However, these days, anything that has to do with alcohol and
Well, we can avoid the alcohol.
yes, you can avoid
yes.
because it begins to be an insurance liability issue.
Right.
What used to work with men and women just getting together and talking. Now we have to be careful about the liability issues.
When and where and everything.
I'm not arguing if it's good or bad. I'm just talking about what is, the liability. But you're right, telling people where you are. I'll be here at this time if you want to talk. Now, the people who don't want to talk, you can still invite them to come and talk. I'd love to talk with you. Come on, let's walk and talk. The best thing is sometimes to be outside, walking and talking with people watching, in case if there's a problem, right? You also have to be careful about how you tell people stuff if you're an authority, because a lot of people become whiners and they say, she made me do it, whatever. So be careful that you make it a request. I need a moment of your time. Be careful how you say things and not overuse your power. So what's another situation? We have time for another situation or two. I had a call this morning from someone who's very annoyed by someone's behavior in a virtual meeting. They have a weekly meeting on this team, and someone is always a pain in the neck. This one woman is always moving around, so everyone gets dizzy watching her do stuff. She interrupts all the time. She's annoying. So what would you do? What would be a polite shut up if you're not in charge? Whose job is it, by the way, to handle that?
The whole in charge.
First off, it's her own. Second off, it's the leader of the team. The third, it's all of you, right? Now, so you have only 2 choices that are, level 1 super dog choices. First choice is to what?
Is there anything wrong with just being direct and asking her to sit down and focus on the meeting?
Well, you have to be careful about telling her what to do. But you say.
He also asked.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant. If you were direct and asked.
We can say, Nina, I would appreciate it if you would just sit still in one place. It makes me dizzy when you move around. Now, that's one choice, is to be very direct. What's another choice? Chain of command. Ask the leader in a text Or you see me always having my phone just in case anyone needs to say anything to me. I ejected someone from a meeting the other day because someone was saying they were offended. It's okay, I eject it. All right. So the issue is you can take care of it yourself, which is fine. You can also have the leader of the meeting take care of it. Chances are you waited too long to say anything. And now in week 99 of the pandemic, now we're saying something. It's a little late, right? Someone was offended the other day that there was a Christmas tree because they were Jewish. You're home. This is about diversity.
People are
A lovely tree.
a little soft.
I mean,
So I have a question about that. You ejected the person with the Christmas tree, or you ejected the person that was offended?
someone was being offensive,
Oh, someone was being offensive. That's not the same.
and I tried to mitigate.
Gotcha.
I sent them a private chat. They didn't stop. They were using a word that was, they were talking about spics.
Hmm.
And they wouldn't stop using the word spic. Now they themselves are Hispanic. So I just said, hombre, por favor, no más, like stop. I did it in Spanish to try and be respectful, and that didn't work. So then I said in English, you cannot use the word spic again. He used the word again, and I'm saying, I'm ejecting you. And I ejected him. That's it. I mean, I think you have to be clear on what the expectations are. So one of the things I want you to think about is at work or at home or in the community, how have you already set the tone for people to treat you or others? And what do you need to do to fix it? All of you are incredibly powerful personally, but we all have history. And there's always that one person that's hard for us to handle. Is the best thing to sit and grin and bear it? Is the best thing to set a limit? Do we need to tell someone? One of my friends, such a whiner. She is a dear friend, but she's not quite normal. And I just adore her. We grew up together. She's certainly not a friend I would choose now, but I adore her. And I say, Mary, you have 5 minutes for the bitch and stitch. Excuse my language. That's what we call it. You know, Jeff, you had your drinking. We call it the bitch and stitch. You have 5 minutes. She could complain about whatever she wants 5 minutes, and I don't interrupt. I just listen. After that, I go, so how's your garden? And I then change the subject. You have to decide what your tolerance is and what you're willing to do or not do. Obviously at work, there's no violence. And we cannot let people, even people who love us, treat us badly. Can we? So your partner loves you, but your partner's abusive regularly. You have to set limits. And it could be that they need to be in therapy. It could be they need to be in a different home until they're safe to come home. Some people will never be okay. Some people will. It's hard to know the difference. If someone cheats on you, does everyone get one hall pass? What if the circumstances were because you were being a jerk? Is that okay now? I mean, I think you have to decide with yourself and with your partners, whether they're work partners, home or community partners, what works for each situation. And eventually you come up with a template. So in the military, cheating is not as uncommon as one would think. It's pretty common, actually. And every family handles that differently. But there's cheating, and then there's putting someone's life at risk because you didn't tell someone you cheated unsafely without any protection. So nowadays, COVID and other yummy cooties are a gift that keep on giving, correct? So if you're going to cheat on someone but put their life at risk, that's different than just cheating on someone and saying, I cheated, we can't be together until 2 weeks, and then until the cooties have been tested, right? So unprotected means something different, doesn't it, than it used to? So I think there's a difference between transgressions and selfish putting someone else at risk. So let's say I know one of you's been drinking and driving, and I say nothing. What do you need to say to me? Let's say you know that you've been drinking and driving, and you know that I know, but I said nothing to you, and I let you get in a car or a truck or a machine of some sort. What do you need to say to me later?
What do
I
you
let
need
you
to say?
down, but yes.
What do you need to say later?
Yeah, the next day or the next week
You-
or the next year. or
So
10
you're
years
the
from now,
individual
whatever.
that knows that someone else has been drinking or driving, or are you the individual? So you're the individual that knows someone else is, ask why. Why didn't you say something?
Yeah, why? And the issue is, don't ever let me do that again. So the person might lose their job. So one of the number one reasons why people end up getting hurt and killed is because someone didn't say something, correct?
Mhm.
Someone's drinking on the job, or they have diabetes and they're having an episode, or they're grief stricken, or they're not in their right minds, right? If that's the case, we have to say something, don't we? If I don't step up for you and say, come on, let's get you home. Let me make arrangements. I can't cover for you, can I? If one of you is being violent and I cover that up, and then later on you hurt yourself or someone else, whose fault is that? It's yours, but mine too. I'm there to help all of you watch your back. You're there to help all of us, right? We're a team. So we have to say something. So polite shut-ups are about, come on, don't make me the snitch. What can you, let's go together and tell the boss. Let's go to HR together and get you some help. Most companies now with drugs, alcohol, grief, other impairment states, if you get some treatment, they'll fix the transgression. Most of them, not all, right? Even in the military. But if you say nothing and something bad happens, you lose your job. And sometimes the witnesses who became bullies by not saying anything later on feel like victims, but they said nothing, correct? So polite shut-ups is about keeping all your power by knowing how to set expectations and how to set limits in a gracious way. These are just 7 of the polite shut-ups that I created with military children. There are many more. If there's one that you come up with that you like, let me know, I'll add it. These are the categories I came up with. Let me know if we need to add some. So we have 3 more minutes. I know we said 2:45, but we kind of been going long. Any other situations you want to address?
I don't, for myself, we don't seem to have I don't think, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think we have a very violent workplace. We have a workplace where people get on each other's nerves and we want to choke the hell out of each other, but we
Rarely do we act on
actually
it.
do it. I don't think we may want to, we may think about it, but I don't think any of us at this point that works there would ever actually do it. I don't know.
Well, and most of the time, polite shut-ups are for those situations, for civilized people to help each other be more civilized, right?
I know there's plenty of situations where plenty of us have walked away and we need the time. And I think that's what most of us do. And most of us, I think, don't follow the other person if they're walking away. But who knows? I try and avoid following someone because if they're walking away from me, that probably means they need time away from me. And I have that personality type. People sometimes need time away from me.
Well, we have to know how we affect others, right? And some people, though, when they walk away, want you to follow them because they need company, but privacy. We can't guess. We can ask, do you need me? Do you want me? And they say, no, it's okay. And then, the main thing is to keep common sense and assume that people, when they're upset, don't always communicate well. They may not know what they want. They may want you to follow, they may not. The issue is to be careful and don't surprise people. Don't feel shamed or shame anybody else. The best way to escalate someone is to make someone feel small, right? We don't want to do that. So polite shut-ups is about anticipating and managing expectations and limits so that life can go well. So Danielle, you always have some interesting insights. Is there a situation that we need to address? Because next time we're going to talk about power.
Well, I mean, I have all kinds of random situations. I would say I'm probably the most aggressive person running around the office in my mind. So, but I mean, there's times I suppose like for any of the office staff, I think in the past we've had issues where we send it up the ladder to the chain of command to deal with something, and the reverse happens, and we get shamed by chain of command for doing such things.
Chain of
So-
command doesn't always know what to do. So let's say chain of command mishandles something. They're just humans. They don't always know what to do. If they're mishandling it, what can you say to them?
Well, I don't know, like I said, I'm probably the most aggressive, so some of these would be very hard for me to say.
All right, so we say, excuse me, boss. What
I
do we
can
say?
say this much. I can say this much. I think I'm the only one that's at the site that's ever had Daryl actually scream at him. So I don't know
Yeah.
if you're the
No,
most
I have
aggressive.
to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not the only one.
Oh, I'm so
Oh,
sad.
I'm feeling
heard
better
him scream.
already.
He hasn't screamed at me yet. I feel sad about that. Okay.
Oh, I'm feeling
Oh,
better
I've been
already.
left out. Okay. So, but I think that the issue is everyone loses their temper. No, you know, and you say, hey, I think you're missing the boat here. When this happened and this happened, now everyone's mad at this person, but this person got it started. Or come on, I think we need to set the limit for what to do now. So sometimes it's not about blame. It's about establishing a culture. You know what? In our workplace, this is what we're going to do. If someone starts with shame, you know, so what? Blame is not the issue. Let's go past blame to what do we do now? You can say that at any time. Let's go past blame to just figure out what we need to do now. It's a great line. And with kids too. He did this, she did this. So, okay. So what now? If we fix this, what will it look like? It's one of my favorite questions. Now, partly because in the amygdala, they go, once they're thinking and scratching that amygdala, they're not just in feeling mode, they're planning. If you can get someone to plan right away, it changes them. Once though someone's mid-fight and they don't pass the drink of water test, you can't talk to them. You can be nearby. One of you said support them. We're here. It's okay, calm down. What can we do? And just be there. Sometimes you just need to be there. But don't hand someone a drink of water if you know they can't drink it, because they'll just throw it at you. All right. All right, so I think that's what I have. Let's do the wheel and see who gets stuck with me for another freebie.
We'll have to tell you, Daryl said he was sorry. He couldn't make it. He had another meeting he had to be at that started as 2 as well.
Busy people, they do the best they can. So it's for Chris. Woo! All right. And so there are a few of you who have to let me know when you want to meet, and I'll be delighted to do that. Let me know when. I was going to do, one of you asked me to do a program on doing Zoom etiquette and email etiquette and whatever, but no one has really signed up for that except for that person. So I'll be glad to just do that privately, during your time. Okay.
And I would Zoom up. I would sign up for both of those actually.
Oh, okay.
I didn't see an email or anything on
I
that.
sent it to Daryl for approval first, but it's on my website. If you just go to drredshoe.com, and it's on Thursday, and it's about Zoom etiquette and email etiquette and voicemail etiquette in these times. And a lot of it has to do with anticipating stuff and how we set limits. The email etiquette is the hardest one because writing good email